Welcome to the Tech Learners. In today's lesson we will talk about another sorting algorithm and we'll see the Java program of that sorting algorithm. The sorting algorithm today we'll talk about is selection sort. In the previous lessons we already had seen the Java programs of bubble sort and insertion sort. So today we will see the concept and the Java program of the selection sort. The selection sort algorithm starts an array by repeatedly finding the minimum element and let's say considering the ascending order from unsorted part and putting it in at the beginning position. So let's consider this example of an array 64, 25, 12, 22 and 11. So this is an unsorted array. So how the selection sort behaves? So we need to find out the minimum element in the array from starting to the end. So this is the first step, this is the first iteration. We'll consider the whole array and we will find out the minimum element in this array. So let's, for example, the minimum element is 11. This minimum element is replaced by the first positioned element. So this minimum element is placed at the beginning. So we'll replace this minimum element with the first element. So now the new array is 11, 25, 12, 22 and 64. By this iteration we can see that the first element is already in its place. So in the next iteration we will consider the remaining list, the remaining elements and leaving the first element. So now we will consider the array from first element to the last element and we will repeat the process. In this array we will find out the minimum element and will replace this minimum element with the first element into this part. So we can see the first element of this part is 25 and the minimum element into this array is 12. So we will swap these two, 12 and 25. So we can see 12 will come here and 25 will come on the position of the 12. So now we have seen that the two elements are in their places and they are sorted as well. So now we will consider the remaining list, the list of these three elements, and again we'll perform the same step. We'll find out the minimum element into this part and we'll swap by the first element of this part. So the first element of this part is 25 and the minimum element into this array is 22. So we will swap this 22 with this 25. So now again by swapping we can see that the three elements now are in position and we are left with this part, and we'll perform the same step into this part. We'll find out the minimum element into this part and we'll swap that minimum element with the first element into this part, and we can see that minimum element is the first element itself, so no swapping will be required. So now we have these elements are into their position and you can see that as we are left with single element it will automatically be in its proper place. So now this is the sorted array. So I hope you have understood the concept. Let's see the program how we can create the selection sort. So I have created a simple program into the Java. I have used a scanner to accept the array, accept the element from the user, and I have used this integer array. I have created an integer array with the help of the scanner. I'll accept the number of elements from the user and will store in the integer variable size. Using this size variable I'll initialize the array with that size, and then I'll accept all the elements from the user and will store all the elements accepted from the user into this array. So for that I'll run a loop from I is equal to 0 to less than size, and then I'll, with the help of the next int method of the sc object scanner class, we'll store all the elements into the array of the array. So this is the step where we are storing all the elements inputted by the user. Now this is the actual sorting comes here and will take place. So we'll run a loop from I is equal to 0 till less than size minus 1. As we know, we need only n minus 2 iterations to perform this. So this is from I is equal to 0 till less than size minus 1. As you have seen into the last step when we were sorting these two elements, the 25 was sorted, and as we are left with one element, so there is no need to perform another iteration. So we need, let's say if we have 1 2 3 4 5 elements, then we need to perform only 5 minus 2, that is 3 steps to perform the selection sort. So the 3 outer steps are required. So the outer loop is performed till n minus 2 or size minus 2. Now inside we have taken the minimum index. The first element is taking the index of the first element is taken as the minimum index, and then we'll run a loop from the next element to the last element. So we'll run the loop from the next element to the last element, and we'll compare if the current minimum element is smaller than the minimum element we have already taken, this min underscore int, then there will be a swap. So we need a swap. This is the index swapping, and then we need to swap those elements. So we'll take a temporary variable, and this is the swapping code, always into the 3 steps with the help of temporary variable. So we'll take a temporary variable, we'll store that specific minimum element into the temporary variable, and then we'll store that first element into the array, into that position of that minimum element, and then temporary element will be stored back to the first position. So this is how we are finding the minimum element, and this is how we are swapping that minimum element with the first element into the array, in that part of the array. And as we come to the next step of the loop, the I will increment from 0 to 1. So in the next step, the array that will be considered will be from the next element to the last element, and in the next step the array will be considered from this third element to the last element, and so on. So in this way we can see that the selection sort can be performed easily into these 2 steps, finding out the minimum element and then swapping the minimum element with the first index, and keeping this all inside this loop. And once the array is sorted, we can simply use a for loop or a while loop or a do while loop to print the array. So now let me compile this excuse me, let me compile this and execute this to show you the output of this selection sort. So now let me compile and execute, and while I execute, you can see that it is asking the number of elements. Let me input 5 elements, and now it is asking to enter those 5 elements. Let me input 12, 6, 24, 18, 3, and you can see that this is the sorted list. So this is 3, 6, 12, 18 and 24. So this is how we can perform the selection sort. I hope you have understood the concept of selection sort. We have already done the videos on bubble and insertion sort, so please watch these videos and feel free to ask any of your queries. Use the comment box to ask your queries. Subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed till now, and like the videos and share the videos so that you can help someone in knowing the Java programs well. Thank you so much.